Men in Black is one of the most iconic movies associated with the 90s, featuring Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones as an unlikely duo stopping alien crime in New York. But did you know it had a TV show, which was actually really good? Airing just months after the movie became a summer blockbuster and a top 10 grossing movie of the 90s, Will Smith was a fun, cool, fresh of breath air, riding the success from The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And to my surprise, the show feels faithful to the movie despite being developed at the same time, while also building on the lore and backstory in such cool ways. So today I want to talk all about the first season of the Men in Black animated series. Now, an interesting note is the show was developed in part by Duane Capizzi and Jeff Kline, who also developed Jackie Chan Adventures shortly after the Men in Black series. It's interesting to compare the two because they both have great writing, but Men in Black's a bit more subtle. Jeff Kline also produced other fan favorites I've been asked to check out, like Extreme Ghostbusters and Godzilla the series, and I didn't even know there was an animated Jumanji cartoon. So the first episode of Men in Black starts with our characters from the movie: Jay, the young street-smart agent played by Will Smith in the movies, and the more deadpan, apathetic Agent K, portrayed by Tommy Lee Jones in the film. They deal with a cat stuck in a tree, and you'd think they were called here because the cat's obviously an alien, but it's actually the tree which has this alien dragon thing explode out of it and run down the road. K shoots it with this orb, and then they use the mind-erasing neuralizer on the firemen so they don't remember this extraterrestrial, and it's a really iconic device. I feel like you'd always see kids in school hold up a pen and pretend like they just wiped someone's mind, so it's always fun to see in the show. A lot of episodes start with a little opening gag like this, not always related to the episode, but it always leads to the theme song, which took me a couple listens to come around to, but at this point, I can only classify it as a banger. It's so catchy. So we start the actual episode with a shot of Manhattan, Twin Towers and all, where Agent K scolds Jay for not reading and studying. This turns out to bite Jay, cause in their mission to take out these shrimp-like aliens multiplying in the sewers, known as Skruldians, Jay isn't able to properly use this restraining gun, so he resorts to just blasting the Skruldian with the noisy cricket, the little gun from the movie with giant knockback. You'd think this is another example of Jay being street smart and reckless and saving the day his own unique way, but it turns out these Skruldian aliens share a hive mind, and now that one of them has been killed, Jay's been marked by the other 4 billion aliens to come assassinate him. They go back to headquarters where the word's already been spread about Jay's status as a dead man walking, and a disguised Skruldian even breaks into headquarters to attempt an assassination here. The music in the show is really interesting. It definitely has grown on me a lot, but at first I thought the song here was super unfitting. Like, it sounds more like something you'd see in a video of a puppy taking its first steps, more than an alien trying to kill someone. But looking back at it, it's obviously supposed to be more of a funny, tense scene, with Kay casually looking for the right weapon while Jay frantically begs him to shoot the alien. Kay's apathy is always funny, cause you never know what he's actually thinking or if he has a plan, and the two just have a great dynamic. And speaking of dynamics, we also see Agent L back at headquarters, who seems to be a regular member of the Force, and actually takes a big step up here as a third protagonist of the show. Her personality's a bit less creepy and weird here. She's more the cool rebel than the weird Morgue gal, but she's so funny and has great lines, it is probably my favorite character from the show.
Don't go pulling a Nancy Drew on me.
Nancy Drew never had one of these.
Agent L doesn't really show up after the first Men in Black movie. She's said to have gone back to her old job, which is kind of funny because the first movie set up Kay's retirement and L's initiation, and then says, well, that's not really iconic, let's just neuralize the audience and bring Kay back. The move makes total sense. Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones were a pretty iconic duo, but it's a pretty funny timeline to see the Men in Black series releasing months after the movie, making L a major character, and then she never shows up again. Anyways, Kay asks for the help of the really intelligent aliens, known as the Twins, and their genius plan to save the agent is a giant Goodbye Jay banner. But the funniest part of this scene to me is how they pronounce their names.
Let's see if the Twins have come up with anything.
Ernie Cardio
Bob, what do we got?
This is actually a carryover from the movie, though the pronunciation is a bit different.
Meet the twins, and Bob.
I love reading comments whenever they say the twins' names, because you see comments like, did the video glitch here or something? Jay puts on all this equipment in preparation of the alien showdown, accidentally blasting the frozen Scraldian that broke in earlier, and Jay doesn't seem to care since they're gonna come kill him anyways, but now they're gonna put him in the soup. Before they can talk more at the soup, they go to a restaurant an alien signal is coming from, but it just turns out to be a little Archilian alien choking on a prawn inside this human exosuit. We get a pretty dramatic scene where Jay and Kay sit on a bench, reflecting on how this was where Jay decided to join the Force, and Kay tells him he shouldn't have any regrets. The tone and music are so well done here, and then the hot dog stand turns out to be a Trojan horse holding dozens of Scraldians, and the animation here is pretty sick. Kay gets a call from the twins again on his Apple Watch before they were a thing, and I love that the Scraldians stopped to let him take this call. Kay shows off his master plan, blowing his nose into a tissue and showing the Scraldians, which is apparently the most heinous thing you can do to them, as the aliens don't even care about Jay anymore, abducting Kay and flying away with him in their ship. Kay's pretty badass here, like he just tells Jay to take a grievance day and take the LTD for a spin, and when he sees the pot of boiling soup, says he can hold his breath for a long time, even if the broth is 3,000 degrees. It's kind of like how in the movie we have the scene where Kay just gets bored by this alien and we think it's some heroic sacrifice before he breaks out, but we actually see the spaceship fly away, and Kay's head opens up, revealing this was an exosuit the little choking alien from earlier flies out of, returning the favor for his friends. This was a great twist for the first episode especially, because I had no idea how the show was gonna play out, like if Kay's abduction was gonna kick off some multi-episode mini arc to save him, or if he was actually gonna die here or something, like maybe Elle was gonna be the second main character and Kay just would have disappeared. So it was a really funny twist to have the alien from earlier save the day. It's a pretty ingenious first episode since it focuses more on a simple emotional plot like Jay dying, while easing you into all the aliens and technology around them. On the other hand, I'd feel more emotionally attached if I knew these characters for more than 20 minutes, but it'd probably ruin the surprise and stakes. So let's move on to episode 2. Episode 2 has Jay and Kay team up with this alien cop named Trebor, who's searching for a wanted criminal named Zeron who crash landed on Earth. We see this boy Timmy's befriended Zeron, who's actually just a cute little teddy bear who makes my skin crawl with how creepy he is. And Jay's able to catch this teddy bear alien and return him to Trebor. We learn Zeron isn't some dangerous alien, but his ship was intercepted by Trebor, who's actually a space bounty hunter. They make a bit of a double twist again, with Zeron actually being a dangerous alien who pretends to be a cute little teddy bear to lure others in, which makes for a great plot, cause you got Kay and Trebor in a standoff, while Jay tries not to get eaten alive or let little Timmy get eaten. It adds so much more chaos to make the bounty hunter's hostage an actual threat too. It makes trying to protect him from a bounty hunter that much more complex. The ending's really funny, cause Trebor was actually gonna save Timmy here by capturing the alien bear thing, and then Jay jumps in and knocks him over, doing the exact same thing. Trebor escapes, running off very awkwardly. And we see Kay planted a small explosive on his ship. Not enough to kill him, but enough to possibly cause the ship to wander through space aimlessly until the end of time. That's pretty messed up, man. You should've just killed him. Overall, it's a cool episode with a great concept. I've read a lot of comments are sad the kid Timmy gets his mind erased at the end of the episode, but I don't really feel like I've seen enough of Timmy or feel he's unique enough that I'd be waiting for him to become a member of the team, but it would be a cool callback to see him in the future. In episode 3, Jay is sad he really can't connect with Kay at all, saying he doesn't know the first thing about him. Meanwhile, this big alien crashes down and heads to this alien black market where he tries to take this super dangerous explosive called a void density core. Frank, the alien dog, who's also in the movie, runs off with it to sell it for himself, but ends up swallowing it and getting chased by the alien. I really like the music here. It's lively and dramatic and is a little more what I'd expect from a lot more scenes from the previous episodes so far.
Hey, Chubster,
Lose weight.
Ask me how.
Kay shoots this large alien who sprouts wings and flies away as Frank's taken into witness protection as they try to learn how this dog fits into the equation of the illegal arms seller and the violent alien that's escaped. It's really funny, the only info Jay's able to squeeze out of this dog is about Kay, like how he loves Elvis or has a bionic arm because a UFO landed on it. And not to bring it up because Kay's sensitive about it. Jay orders room service and gets a smoke bomb, which turns out to be the arms dealer Jeebs trying to escape with the dog because Frank swallowed this bomb, which we learn is a mini black hole that'll suck up everything in a 3-mile radius. Not to mention it's gonna detonate in under an hour. I love the lore that it was designed by aliens for waste management, but was outlawed because of terrorist potential. The show really has some great ideas in world building. The giant alien from earlier breaks into the hotel and grabs Frank, sticking him to the Chrysler building, which will soon explode. Jay, being the street smart one who thinks outside the box, has a solution to retrieve the bomb that can work even on someone as squeamish as Frank. And well, just watch for yourself.
Jay, I don't think that's medically sound.
What's wrong with you? You scared the living daylights out of me.
That's not all I scared out of you.
So they get the bomb back just before it detonates, and it's surprisingly clean. Like, I wouldn't pick that thing up even if it was gonna destroy the city. At least give me some gloves or something. Kay shoots the bomb into the sky where it safely implodes, only sucking in the alien terrorist here before landing on the street and getting run over by a truck. To show his appreciation, Frank shows Jay what he truly looks like under his dog disguise because Jay keeps asking to see, and I'm so happy they actually showed it on screen. So many shows only show the reaction of the characters and have this off screen, and it always annoys me. Like, I wanted to see what was under Double D's hat more than anything growing up. But it turns out the alien underneath Frank looks pretty similar to the pug, and Jay laughs because of how anticlimactic it is. Overall, it's a fine episode. It was a little hard for me to follow what was going on at first. Like, I didn't really know Frank swallowed the bomb and it happened off screen, so I wasn't sure if he deliberately swallowed it because it didn't seem like a great idea. I don't know how he anticipated ever getting it out. But Frank's a fun character, and it's really cool to see someone like this fleshed out more for a full episode. In episode 4, Jay and Kay have to deal with a Centillion alien who got one of his 2 hearts stolen, and he proves it's gone by taking their arms and shoving them inside his chest, which is so gross. Ew. Ew. There's an alien conference going on, and Kay notices the black market dealer Jeebs is here, and I really like this scene.
Hey, I don't speak ill of your career.
You've got 3 seconds to get out, Jeebs.
It's a freak.
Jay bumps into a man named Alpha, who used to be Kay's old partner, teaching Kay everything he knows. Meanwhile, Kay puts on a virtual memory projector, and whatever it was he saw here is pretty traumatic, causing the typically stoic Kay to freak out. Jay still tries to find out more about his partner to no avail, and asks these coffee-obsessed worm aliens for more info, and I love them so much. Their voices and delivery are perfect.
Guys, slow down.
They speak too quickly because of the coffee Jay gives them, so he gives them decaf to slow them down, where they mention Alpha could be involved, but I'm much more concerned with how decaf slows them down here. Like, that's more of a sleepy time coffee than a decaf. Jay and Elle try to hack into the files to learn more about Alpha, but get stopped by Captain Zed, and Jay asks to be transferred to a new partner, anyone with a heart, since Kay refuses to open up about what's going on or who Alpha is. This gives Kay an epiphany that Alpha must be responsible for the missing heart and the memory projector, and tries to escape the headquarters, but is stopped because of how dangerous this mission would be. It's really cool to see Kay show emotion here and want to dive into this on his own, and we learned this was actually a quick clone like we saw in the first episode, and the real Kay is already on his way to the getaway car with Jay. When we see the car is gone, we realize this is actually a second clone, which is a pretty funny twist. Like, I'm gonna have to be on guard everyone's a clone moving forward. Kay confronts Alpha, who we see has alien heads growing out of him, and his mind was corrupted by some kind of cosmic integrator, and he's now some amalgamation seeking immortality. It really goes to show the danger the agents expose themselves to and Kay's trauma, and we even see Kay has a plan for a suicide bomb that would take out both him and Alpha, but stops at the last second when Jay and Elle barge in. Elle then tries to convince Kay to use the bomb and explode Jay along with Alpha, saying Jay's expendable and knows what he signed up for, and even Kay's like, damn, man. But she only says this because Jay's actually a quick clone here as well, and I just gotta show you the facial expressions in this scene. They always kill me. So they return the second heart to the Centillion alien. Zed congratulates Jay for his work today and tells him his partnership means a lot to Kay, even if he would never admit it. I really love this episode. It tells us so much through their actions, like Kay's traumatic flashbacks, his change in demeanor from his usual stoicism, to even defying the agency and doing things his own way. It really opens up the lore of the Men in Black universe in a really interesting way, and is definitely one of the darker plots in the series, so it's gotta be my favorite episode so far. Episode 5 starts with Jay getting grabbed and thrown around by this alien as Kay casually peruses donuts inside, eventually asking Jay to try the donut. We soon learn he wasn't asking him to eat the donut, but shove it in the alien's face cause it'll destroy his nervous system. And between this and Mucha Lucha, where we see the flea's bones literally bend out of shape when he eats a donut, I don't know how any of us who watched Kids WB growing up ever ate a donut after, but man, I want some Dunkin' now. This episode has Jay working as a bodyguard for this Tarkon minister because he accidentally takes out his bodyguard when he spills coffee on him and disintegrates him. But he'll put himself back together in a week or so it's all good. I love the expressions in this show. It always feels like a YouTube poop or something to me. Something about how extremely shocked every expression is, combined with just how long they hold on it all, is always funny to me. I really like this episode because of how easy it is to follow, which definitely isn't always the case. Like, we got a lot of funny gags like Jay hyper-vigilantly defending the minister from random aliens, or chatting up this random lady Vonda while not trying to blow his cover as an actual human, and then this other alien lady flirts with him later and her husband tries to kill him, but that's beyond the point. That night, Jay goes to his room with the royal alien frustrated at his constant blunders throughout the day, but gets a tip from Elle something must have been planted in the minister's room. When he comes over, we not only see him sleeping on the bed like this, which hurts my hips just looking at it, but also Jay is so slow to react, he just watches in horror and awe as the fan turns into some cyborg spider that nearly impales the minister before impaling him instead. Jay realizes the only way to catch this assassin will be to go on the offensive and lure them out, so while they have this minister sign this document, Vonda walks in with this harpoon gun, and I guess no one sees or cares. Jay has a pretty genius idea, not to stop the harpoon, but to throw coffee at the minister and reduce him to blobs on the ground. I guess it's gonna stall everything for a week while he reorganizes himself, but hey, better late than never. Jay confronts Vonda, who turns back into her alien form, and they shoot the alien assassin, causing intestines to rain from the sky. So we end the episode with Jay saving the day. Despite him not being the most professional or diplomatic agent, he always thinks outside the box, and that's what makes him so good at his job. I don't want to sound like the crumble cookie kid, but this is my new favorite episode so far. There's a lot of funny gags, and the episode flows really well, and unlike some of the other episodes so far, I feel like I could understand the story right away, even if most aspects revolve around foreign alien food and tradition. Episode 6 has a really interesting concept in which Jay accidentally uses the neuralizer on Kay, who doesn't remember who Jay is, and reverts back to his teenage mind. We see Kay look for where he parked his Mustang because his old man will kill him if he loses it. There's a lot of somber tension here because Kay says his dad is dead when Jay tries once again to find out more information about Kay and his life. So there's a dreadful feeling building up in large part because of the sacrifices and repressed thoughts and emotions the agents deal with in order to do their job. Kay gets kidnapped by aliens in the mind of someone who's never seen an extraterrestrial before, so it's kinda nice to have a character just as confused as I am. Elle and Jay try to infiltrate this blimp, but get tied up because they played a game of chicken, and Jay made Elle bail out at the last second. To be honest, this was probably a good idea. Elle seems like a bit of a loose cannon, and if neither side bailed out, I truly think she would've just killed everyone involved. While this is happening, Kay single-handedly starts kicking everyone's butt, and he feels a lot more athletic here, possibly showing age is just a state of mind now that he thinks he's a teenager again.
Slim, remember those Twin Towers?
Yeah, what about him?
I don't think they're gonna be so tall anymore.
Why'd he say remember? Like, if they exist in the present, wouldn't you say, do you know the Twin Towers, not do you remember them? I see people mention Johnny Bravo or The Simpsons predicting 9/11, but maybe Men in Black needs to be added to that list too. They're able to avoid 9/11, or 11/15, launching the blimp into the water, and Kay goes home, where we see him catching up with his father, who isn't dead, he just hasn't seen him in decades. Kay tells his father he may never see him again, and it seems Kay told Jay his father was dead to make the separation easier.
I'm here because I've made a decision.
You're marrying the one on the right?
This really highlights a darker aspect of the Men in Black universe, showing the commitment and sacrifice they all make for this job, with a silver lining being that this team is kind of a found family, in a sense. In episode 7, The Symbiote Syndrome, Jay has to escort this teenage symbiote alien, Troy, who as his name implies, thrives on some kind of symbiotic relationship in which he fuses with Jay and sprouts a head out of his neck. Kinda reminds me of the anime and manga Parasite, which came out in 1989, so there's a small chance there was some influence here, and it's always been a favorite of mine. They're pursued by the bounty hunter Treblor from episode 2, who places an explosive on their train, but we see the symbiotes able to do all sorts of things like shield them by creating a giant flesh ball or giving Jay a giant fist to attack with. It's actually really cool and fun to watch, turning more into a blend of Parasite and One Piece in a sense. We eventually learn the struggles Jay and the symbiote are having, like their electronic signals getting jammed, are actually being caused by the symbiote Troy, not the bounty hunter. Which is pretty funny, since in the 2 times we've encountered Treblor so far, the subject he pursues actually has been guilty of something. This neck alien Troy doesn't want to go back to his mother, and Jay catches on to this, leaving Troy to wither out here in the desert, but eventually has a change of heart with newfound conviction to save Troy and take out the bounty hunter. They try to fly away, but Treblor freezes them, and Troy can breathe fire, I guess, from eating spicy food, and this fight actually does go pretty hard. I could totally see them being a main character of a whole show. So if you like this episode, definitely check out Parasite. Treblor was assigned this job by a scrawny alien who uses the symbiote to regain his power and muscles, but Kay shows up, shooting Treblor, using a lightsaber to chop the symbiote off this other alien, and then just slaps him up. Like, Kay's got hands, don't mess with him. The episode ends with Kay and Troy taking a trip to Hollywood, which is Troy's dream for whatever reason, and it's a funny little ending to see these two characters align so well, though I'd love to know more about Troy's family and why he ran away. It's a really fun episode that simultaneously reminds me of anime and a lot of 80s cartoons, definitely in the top half of the season for me. Episode 8 deals with an alien called Inanimate, a shapeshifter who can turn into inanimate objects, which, as this comment points out, is just a big prop hunt episode. Jay ends up teaming with You, no, not you, but Agent You, whose name coincidentally is Uptight. It's cool to see Jay team up with a different agent for a change, and Kay teams up with this lady Eileen he seems to have a history with and knows all about Inanimate. It's a really creative choice to have these agents fighting and shooting a giant walking air vent, and then it can just turn the corner and change into a pair of sunglasses. And it's been years, but I really want to play Prop Hunt now. So yeah, when are we all playing Prop Hunt together? We see Kay and Eileen share a tender scene together while Jay watches in jealousy and skepticism, but this comes to an end when the Inanimate breaks into the headquarters, threatening to launch a missile. But Eileen does Jay the biggest solid, giving him the keys to the car, and if you thought today was gonna be the day Jay finally drives the car, you'd be wrong, because the Inanimate takes over, speeding to the missile site. Jay and Eileen team up here, and Kay gets stuck inside the now sentient missile, and they're able to decode it, stopping the Inanimate and saving the day. Not all is well though, because Jay laments that he'll be losing Kay, who we presume will be following Eileen back to her planet, and I really like this scene between Jay and Kay.
When she's around, you almost smile. You never almost smile. Just take it slow. You could crack the face.
But
Read my lips. Aileen's good for you. Now get on that ship and don't look back.
Something about saying Kay almost smiles around her is really touching to me, like that just feels so sweet. It kinda reminds me of the Bye Bye Butterfree episode of Pokemon, which I struggle to even search for to put an image on screen. Like imagine being an inconsolable kid, crying, trying to explain to your mom the reason why you're crying is because a kid let his giant butterfly Pokemon go off with the giant pink butterfly. I got issues, I know. We learn Kay and Eileen want to be together, but their work priorities come first, and they both have hundreds of cases they need to deal with. It's a really nice ending, once again showing the bittersweet nature of their jobs, and Eileen was a really cool character. I'd love to see her again in future episodes. In episode 9, Kay gets attacked by this alien that can shapeshift and capture the essence of others, so the two of them now share this connection where anything that happens to the shapeshifter will also happen to Kay. Like the alien eating a pizza will even make this boiling pot of alien goop taste like a pizza for Kay. This complicates matters further when they can't really attack the alien without hurting Kay, so they learn more of this eccentric alien from his fellow Alcidians, who reveal Forbus is a bit eccentric and mentally unstable, attacking anyone who takes a photo of him because he feels it takes his essence. Even here, with Kay swerving off the road, he still won't allow Jay to drive, and we get this pretty great car chase throughout the city and subway, and while Kay has a hunch of the shapeshifter's moves, the symptoms start to impact Kay further as he now pushes cameraman out of the way himself. The alien nearly gets shot by the police, but Jay intervenes to ensure neither him nor Kay end up getting seriously hurt here, and I love that the cops recognize Jay from his previous days in the NYPD. Just a fun little attention to detail that really shows how passionate the show was to the world of the movie. We get a standoff between the alien and Kay, who's willing to shoot and kill them both if he has to. I really wasn't expecting them to shoot each other here, but the show's always full of surprises. The alien manages to escape while Kay's in critical condition, and Elle tries to take a diagnostic of Kay, but his new alien mind tells him to shoot Elle for trying to capture his essence, and Jay shows up aiming at the alien, which would also shoot Kay. It's a pretty complicated standoff when you really think about it. Jay does shoot here, but with a camera, not a gun, which honestly may be worse for these aliens. The episode ends with the alien brought to the Men in Black mental ward, where we see him and Kay aren't totally disconnected yet, as all these ink blots look like tuna melts, which Kay is currently eating on the other side of town. Overall, it's a really fun episode. The chases throughout were great, and the standoff at the end was dramatic, intense, with a really unique twist. I love how there's always a surprise and mix-up, whether the characters are actually gonna shoot each other and survive, or if they're killing a clone. It just always manages to keep things fresh. And the idea of an episode dealing with an alien having a mental crisis they need to work around to not harm is just a great plot with nice execution. Episode 10, The Head Trip Syndrome, starts with a ball commemorating the Men in Black's first contact with these aliens known as the Baltians that return to Earth every 10 years, bringing new alien technology for the Men in Black, which is some really cool lore and world building. They showcase all new alien technology, and Jay puts on this Cerebro accelerator, which makes him really intelligent for a change. Well, more in a book smart or alien smart way as opposed to street smart or money smart. He's so smart, he even pronounces the twins' name right, and every time someone says it, I gotta show it on screen.
Here, show you a shortcut. Excuse me, any cardio?
Kid, you've never pronounced his name correctly before.
While Jay's extremely smart now, we learn his brain will continue to grow to the point it'll explode, so he has under 24 hours to live.
When I first joined, I mistook an Ivatoki gender changer for a phone booth. Experience counts for something.
Does this make Agent T a trans icon? Is that what the T stands for? Before we can think more about this, Agent T vanishes into thin air, and Kay says this agent never existed, despite him being one of the original 5 agents who met the Baltians. Jay's telekinetic powers seem to make him the only person who remembers these agents who continue to disappear, while no one else remembers. They figure someone must be traveling back in time and changing the past, and the real villain of the episode is one of the best twists twists of the season. You'd think it was these aliens who have this experimental technology, but it actually turns out to be a random human who bought a time travel device from Jeeves at the black market and really hates aliens, believing they don't belong here. They portray him as this conspiracy theorist bigot who commits a hate crime here, and they do a good job of making the metaphors of it all subtle enough, but there's a lot of connections here that don't exactly add up for me. Like, how this guy knows aliens exist here, or why he actually hates them. Like, if they killed someone he knows, even accidentally, the bigotry PSA might hit a little harder, but I struggle to understand this random human's motives. Overall, it's a really cool episode. I love the twist of a regular human being the antagonist here, but I think the plot gets a bit muddled, so while it had a little more potential, it's still a really good time. In episode 11, vermin aliens have attached to astronauts, so J, K, and L have to take out these little Metroid creatures all around the station. The last one nearly attacks L, but J pushes her out of the way, getting hit by the coma-inducing parasite. I like that J gets bit here because it lets the episode focus a lot more around L, who's probably the most fun character of the whole show. L has to infiltrate J's dream, giving us a very psychological episode where J's a big shot who knows karate, and the dream version of L admires Jay's machismo. The Dream L wears more of a vest suit, and while it's still formal, it makes me appreciate that the actual show has them all wear the same suits, regardless of gender, cause it still looks good on her without falling into the design trend you see from time to time, more so with object characters, where the male just resembles the object and the female is curvy and exaggerated. It is kinda cool to see this alternate design though, cause both look pretty nice. Arguably the most unrealistic part of this whole dream is Jay actually gets to drive the car. L tries to wake Jay up from this dream by pulling down a new scene transition of a really tall building, kinda like the Amanda show, and then she pushes Jay off the building to scare him awake, but Jay's too suave and skilled now, calmly grappling onto the moon, making his way back up and aiming to shoot L, cause she must be some imposter trying to kill him. I love the emotional conflict of this episode, with the imposter L constantly pulling Jay back to the fantasy world, like to a ski lodge in Vermont. It really makes an interesting antagonist, the escapist fantasy within Jay's mind, versus the piercing truth of the real world. L snatches the imposter's wig, literally, revealing this is a big green alien who almost rubbed Jay's feet by the fire. This alien gets a hold of the minigun, leaving Jay with a choice, to live in the ideal fantasies of his mind or to face reality. L then gets shot by the alien, which wakes Jay up metaphorically as he incinerates the alien and wakes up for real, narrowly saving L. We end the episode with L and Jay sharing a nice scene on a park bench, with Jay feeling embarrassed for his fantasy life and his dreams being revealed, though he's not embarrassed enough to ask L for a foot massage here, and she tells him to dream on. Jay really said ball up top. I love their dynamics so much. Jay and L are both so cool and do things their own way, but it's so satisfying when they connect towards a common goal. They'd really make a great couple. This is the last time I'm gonna say it in this video, but this is my new favorite episode of the season. In episode 12, these aliens called the Blastula have been creating a heat wave in an attempt to take over. J and K investigate, where they find a man who isn't even sweating and works at Kurtek, the company they believe is responsible for aiding the heat wave, but K suddenly says everything's all clear and tells them to go home. We see K sneak out later and talk to the man who wasn't sweating Jay was suspicious of, so we have a pretty interesting set of circumstances where we never really know what K's up to, and Jay's suspicious he could be a Blastula working undercover. Jay takes a blood sample from K by stabbing him in the ass, and I love that K turns around and Jay just says, "What?" Like, how do you just what your way out of that? I guess it makes sense the sample matches up with the Blastula, cause this wasn't the most human reaction, but K is pretty irregular. The tensions rise to a boiling point when Jay tries to drive the car and investigate further, leading to a standoff, and I really appreciate the tension this show has. I can't think of many cartoons that have characters just casually standing around holding guns at each other so often, but this show's a great example of taking full advantage of an animated format, cause you never know what's really gonna happen. Like, is someone a clone? Is an alien gonna gonna jump in. And it's really funny to think this fight was all over driving the car, because as we know, Jay's never allowed to drive the car. Even if it was his last day on Earth, Kay says maybe later. Jay ends up ripping off Kay's mask, revealing he is in fact a Blastula, and takes a cab to the suspicious man's house we saw earlier. We learn from the man's wife that his name is Bill and he's been married to her for 10 years, but has been acting strange as of late. Jay sneaks into the Kurtek headquarters, and the suspicious husband Bill turns out to be Kay, and is a Blastula scout who came here 40 years ago and found paradise on Earth, telepathically telling Kay about his plan to stop the other Blastulas from taking over. And the reason it couldn't be shared with Jay is because he doesn't know how to hide his thoughts from these telepathic aliens. It's a really cool plot twist. The show has such an interesting structure where you know they're gonna go from point A to point B. Like, that's not terribly surprising, but how they get there and justify it is always so unique to see. There's a certain elegance to it all where it's simultaneously really simple and really complex. They get into a shootout with the Blastulas where they learn the fins on top of their head are some kind of heat-retaining apparatuses, but I don't know, I think shooting them in the face would have had a similar effect. Just a hunch. The Blastula leader gets thrown into this giant sunspot that's been used to gradually raise the temperature of the sun over the past few months, and Kay launches it, possibly incinerating this alien into the stratosphere, and restabilizes the Earth's temperature. We end the episode with the alien waiting outside the door to his human wife's house, with Agent K reassuring him he may have the blood of an alien, but the heart of a human. We then see Kay hitting golf balls out towards the water surrounding the Statue of Liberty, presumably to clear his mind about the situation regarding their friend and his lover, and it doesn't really lead to anything. It's just a kind of funny, somber way to end the episode. But it does remind me of a scene from a future Will Smith movie 10 years later, I Am Legend, where I fondly remember him in an empty city driving golf balls off of rooftops. Maybe it's been done before, but the Will Smith connection to this pretty random action is kind of funny. I can only speculate if this was influenced by Men in Black, the animated series. Definitely a classic episode with great action, mystery, and emotion. Really everything that makes the Men in Black series great fires on all cylinders here. So let's move on to the final episode of season 1, the Take No Prisoners syndrome. And real quick before we get into the final episode, just wanted to give a quick thanks to my Patreon and Ko-fi supporters, Like a Sore Thumb, Jakira, Buggy, Luca17, Luther, Richard M, Jack C, Flinley, and Paul H. Thanks for helping me make these videos. I'm working on a video on the intricate lore behind Backyard Baseball I plan to release on Patreon this November, so if you want to see that in my exclusive video on the Animal Crossing anime movie, check it out sometime. The final episode of season 1 follows a prison break where the mastermind, Dr. Lupo, freezes the entire agency besides Zed, Jay, Kay, and these coffee worms. I really love the coffee worms. Their voices and cadence are always so funny to me.
Sumatra, Vienna roast, vanilla almond. You and your dessert coffee.
Just pick one.
Dr. Lupo is voiced by Miguel Ferrer, who also voiced Tarakudo, the big Oni mask from Jackie Chan Adventures, so it's really funny to read comments saying not only do they sound similar, but look similar too, and I guess I can kinda see it if I squint my eyes. Seeing Jay and the coffee worms trying to sneak through the headquarters pretending to be frozen is so funny, cause the aliens are so obsessed with coffee they can't stand still even if their lives depend on it. The coffee worms also have a fun overlap with their voice actor, as they're voiced by Vincent D'Onofrio, who also plays Edgar, or the Bug, the main antagonist of the first Men in Black movie. Dr. Lupo holds Kay hostage, looking for the unfrozen agent lurking around, and the coffee worms gladly turn themselves in, cause this means they can go into Zed's office where the coffee maker is. The rest of the episode splinters into different fights with the escaped aliens, like Jay and the Worm Team fighting this giant dragon alien, while Kay fights this giant blue-headed alien with telepathic powers. They eventually converge and have the prisoners take each other out, while Jay uses this experimental gun from the vault, all the while Zed fights Dr. Lupo, who could have easily killed him here, but Lupo's clone insists on doing the deed himself, shooting the real Dr. Lupo with the last bullet, or laser I guess, from this gun. As big of a choke as this is, you can't really blame the clone too hard, since Dr. Lupo literally shot his own clone earlier in the episode, blaming him for letting Zed escape. So you see this clone alone has a kinda revenge redemption arc all in one. So the day's saved and Jay's finally congratulated for his work and says he couldn't have done it without the help of the worms, who've now locked themselves in Zed's office with all the coffee. And you know, they just risk their lives and save the day. Just give them the coffee, it's a small price to pay for the sake of the Men in Black. So that's how the first season of Men in Black ends. The show was a really pleasant surprise, and with 2 of the 3 same developers between this and Jackie Chan Adventures, that being Jeff Kline and Dwayne Capizzi, it shouldn't be too much of a surprise that it's actually of high quality. I don't hear people talk about the Men in Black cartoon nearly as much as the Jackie Chan Adventures show, maybe because it's not an original premise like the latter, but it's a fantastic adaptation and I really commend its ability to stay true to the source material while building off of it. Not to mention how much more impressive this is since it came out months after the movie, so you know they had to be in development simultaneously. Thanks so much for watching, I'd appreciate it if you liked and subscribed, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye!